I made fun of a woman for being in her 40s and single, so I work at this accounting firm downtown, and there's this woman, Janet, who sits 2 cubicles over from me. She's probably like 43, always brings these elaborate lunches in glass containers, and has this really quiet voice when she talks on the phone. I honestly never really paid attention to her until my coworkers started making jokes. It started during our lunch break when Greg mentioned seeing Janet eating alone in the break room again. He was like, "Dude, she's always by herself. What's up with that?" And then Nicole chimed in saying she overheard Janet telling someone on the phone that she was going to another wedding alone this weekend. That's when the jokes started. I don't know what got into me, but I said something like, maybe she should try dating apps instead of being a crazy cat lady. Everyone laughed, and I felt this weird rush from getting their attention. It was stupid, but I kept going. I mean, come on, you're in your 40s and still single? That's gotta be some serious red flags there. Nicole was giggling and added, right? Like, what's wrong with her that no one wants to stick around? We were all cracking up, and I felt like such a comedian. But then Greg said something that made my stomach drop. He mentioned seeing Janet at the hospital last month when he was there for his mom's appointment. That should have been my cue to shut up. But instead, I made some dumb joke about how maybe she was getting her eggs frozen or something. God, I cringe just thinking about it now. We all laughed it off and went back to work, but something felt off. The next week, I noticed Janet looked really tired, like exhausted in a way that made her whole face look different. She was wearing this baseball cap every day, which was weird because she usually had her hair done really nicely. I started feeling guilty about the whole lunch conversation, but I pushed it down and ignored it. Then on Friday, I was staying late to finish some reports when I heard someone crying in the bathroom. It was the women's restroom next to our floor, and I probably shouldn't have, but I listened for a second. The crying was so intense, like someone was in actual physical pain. When the person came out, it was Janet. She looked awful. Her face was all puffy and red, and when she saw me standing there, she just froze. I felt like such an idiot just standing there in the hallway. She tried to walk past me quickly, but I stopped her and asked if she was okay. That's when she completely broke down. She told me she'd been going through chemotherapy for the past 6 months. Breast cancer. The reason she was always alone at lunch was because the chemo made her nauseous, so she had to eat really bland foods at specific times. The elaborate lunches weren't her being fancy. They were carefully planned meals to help her keep food down. The hospital visits Greg saw weren't for anything weird. They were for her treatments. And the reason she was single wasn't because something was wrong with her. Her fiancé had left her 3 months after her diagnosis because he couldn't handle it. She'd been dealing with cancer, losing her hair, being sick constantly, and getting dumped all at the same time. I felt like the biggest piece of garbage on the planet. Here I was making jokes about this woman being a crazy cat lady when she was literally fighting for her life. The baseball caps were because she'd lost all her hair from chemo. The quiet phone calls were probably with doctors or family members checking on her. She told me she'd heard what we said at lunch that day, and it had made her feel even more alone than she already did. She said she used to love coming to work because it was the one place she could pretend things were normal. But our jokes made her realize everyone probably thought something was wrong with her. I apologized like crazy, but it felt so hollow. What do you even say to someone when you've been that cruel without knowing? I told her about our lunch conversation and how wrong we all were, and she just nodded and said she had to go home.